We live in an incredible time because the forces that are unnatural, not of nature, but of man and of greed, are upon us. But it is making us recognize how important reaching down to be the best of ourselves is. And those heroes that maybe would have been quiet, we wouldn't have known that a Novak Djokovic in his heart was a warrior for the truth if he had not been pressured in this way. And he has come under attack by virtually every news agency. Shame on them. And in the end, he was right. And now, imagine here in the United States of America, here at Freedom Fest, in the country that's supposed to be the bastion for freedom and liberty, people try to get across our borders to have what we have right now. We have a pile of baloney around Wimbledon and around, what Novak Djokovic. He is not going to be allowed to come to the United States of America to play in the U.S. Open here. Wimbledon champion Novak Djokovic still not planning to get vaccinated, set to skip U.S. Open. Why? I know this is just sports and it shouldn't matter that much. What difference does it make? It's just an athlete. But it shows how incredibly stupid this whole thing has become. We have a vaccine that clearly cannot stop infection. Fauci and everybody behind it that pushed it on us admits that there's no stopping this infection. In fact, the only way to feel confident that you are safe right now in this world is if you are naturally infected and you have that more robust immunity that we're seeing in multiple studies, including the one we showed you that just came out of the Middle East. Now, Qatar. And so we know that this is the case. Natural immunity is the only way forward. So Novak Djokovic is arguably the healthiest tennis player in the world today. And he's not going to be allowed in the United States of America because we have to be held under this fear porn of an emergency. We're still under emergency. We don't know what to do with this virus. The vaccine didn't work even though we promised you would. We took away your jobs. We didn't allow you to go anywhere near the drugs that could have saved your lives. And Novak Djokovic stands there as the living proof, the control group that said, not only am I still healthy, I'm still the greatest freaking tennis player alive and I'm beating everyone around me. And the only way they can be right is to censor him and keep him from playing. We've got to stop this insanity. We've got to stand up. We've got elections happening all over the world. We've got to make a difference. We can't just come to conferences like here at Freedom Fest and say, boy, that felt really good, and then quietly hide in our houses. We've got to go out and bring the truth to everyone we know. I don't know if you saw the interview with Matthias Desmet just a few weeks ago, a powerful interview about the brainwashing that's taken place. The hypnosis our friends and family members are under is real, but we've got to keep giving them doses of the truth. We cannot give up on them now. We've got to reach down into being our inner Djokovic and stand for what matters, not worried about what we might lose for telling the truth. And these guys that sat with me on the stage, not worried about their license, but recognizing what they should worry about is the future of humanity. When we look at Australia, and what happened with the Australian Open, which set this whole thing off with Djokovic, I want to share something and read something. I don't usually do this, but this came across, this was texted to me last night. And this is it, the unvaccinated will be vindicated. This is, I can't read it, in the Venetian or whatever that says. I don't know if this is the author. I'm not sure if we've fully nailed it down. It's a column that's said to be written by Susan Dunham. Maybe there's a Susan out there. I don't know how I'm going to be attacked. I will say this. I did not write this, but somebody did. Susan, if it's you, this should be holding down a place in every textbook in the world in the future. And I'm going to read to you what I think is one of the most eloquently stated statements about what we have just been through and what we must all recognize is now the truth. And for those of you who've been watching the High Wire, this one's for you. Let this sink in. An opinion piece from a vaccinated Australian writer is what it's called. If COVID was a battlefield, it would still be warm with the bodies of the unvaccinated. Thankfully, the mandates are letting up and both sides of the war stumble back to the new normal. The unvaccinated are the heroes of the last 2 years, as they allowed us all to have a control group in the great experiment and highlight the shortcomings of the COVID vaccines. The unvaccinated carry many battle scars and injuries, as they are the people we tried to mentally break. Yet no one wants to talk about what we did to them and what they forced the science to unveil. We knew that the waning immunity of the fully vaccinated had the same risk profile as others within society as the minority of the unvaccinated, yet we marked them for special persecution. You see, we said that they had not done the right thing for the greater good by handing their bodies and medical autonomy over to the state. Many of the so-called health experts and political leaders in Australia admitted the goal was to make life almost unlivable for the unvaccinated, which was multiplied many times by the collective mob, with the fight taken into workplaces, friendships, and family gatherings. Today, the hard truth is none of it was justified as we took a quick slide from righteousness to absolute cruelty. We might lay the blame on our leaders and health experts for the push, but each individual within society must be held accountable for stepping into the well-laid-out trap. We did this despite knowing full well that principled opposition is priceless when it comes to what goes inside our bodies, and we let ourselves be tricked into believing that going into another ineffective lockdown would be the fault of the unvaccinated and not the fault of the toxic policy of ineffective vaccines. We took pleasure in scapegoating the unvaccinated because after months of engineered lockdowns by political leaders blinded by power, having someone to blame and turn to burn at the stake felt good. We believed we had logic, love, and truth on our side, so it was easy to wish death upon the unvaccinated. Those of us who ridiculed and mocked the non-compliant did it because we were embarrassed by their courage and principles and didn't think the unvaccinated would make it through unbroken. And we turned the holdouts into punching bags. Lambie, Carr, Chant, Andrews, McGowan, Gunner, and the other cast of hundreds in prominent roles, and we here in America, we could add Fauci and the rest of them, and Biden in prominent roles need to be held to account for vilifying the unvaccinated in public and fueling angry social media mobs. The mobs, the masked Nazis, and the vaccine disciples have been embarrassed by betting against the unvaccinated because mandates only had the power we gave them. It was not compliance that ended domination by big pharma companies, Bill Gates and his many organizations, and the World Economic Forum. It was thanks to the people we tried to embarrass, ridicule, mock, and tear down. We should all try and find some inner gratitude for the unvaccinated as we took the bait by hating them because their perseverance and courage bought us the time to see we were wrong. So if mandates ever return for COVID or any other disease or virus, hopefully more of us will be awake and see the rising authoritarianism that has no concern for our well-being and is more about power and control. The war of the unvaccinated was lost, on the unvaccinated was lost. And we should all be very thankful for that. This is the high wire. We've celebrated our position against this vaccine from the beginning, using science to declare our space. To every writer out there, keep writing statements like this. To every historian, remember what it means to write the true history. History has been stated. It has happened here. We lost our rights to a lie. Let's admit that. Let's change it. And let's make a better world based on truth. As we watch our stock markets crashing and inflation going through the roof, recognize that the most valuable commodity, the rarest metal available now on this planet, is truth. That should not be the case. This is what the high wire is all about. This is the Fort Knox for the truth. We're not going anywhere, and we're coming after you. This is the high wire. I'll see you next week.